everybody, and welcome to the Dash Trader Newsroom. So Trump has won the election. Now the big question on everybody's mind is what happens next? So my name is Michael DeJour. I'm the Director of Educational Services here at Dash Trader, and I'm joined by Derrick Oldlensmith from T3, or the Trader Manager there at T3. Derrick, great to have you here with me today.
Hey, Mike, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So let's just jump right in and talk a little bit about the elections. We've seen a 2-day market surge higher. The first day was just absolutely astronomical, up 1,500 points on the Dow, pretty much 2 to 3% across the board. Second day follow through. Post election, Donald Trump and the Republicans and MAGA have swept pretty much all the political elections that we just had. Republicans have won back the Senate, and they have the presidency, and they've retained control of the House of Representatives. So what are your thoughts about the impact or the lack of impact, right? Going forward, that this is it.
Sure. So yesterday through today, I mean, two incredible upside days for the market, and the Trump victory gets a lot of credit for that. The administration and their pro-growth policies helped to propel. I think yesterday was the biggest upside day ever
Yes.
post-election. It is very normal, regardless of which party wins, to see a bump higher in the market afterwards, just because what the market hates more than anything, the market hates uncertainty. So you have uncertainty going into an election. Who's going to win? Is there going to be drama? And then when you get through it and there's a clear winner, that always seems to give some sort of a boost. And I think the pro-growth policies, as the market perceives them from Trump, gave it an even bigger boost.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is also just market dynamics. One of the things that we have been really looking very closely at over the course of the month of October was the elevated VIX. We had a VIX trading at 20, 21, $22 with a market pretty much sitting at all-time highs. That's very rare. Market just sitting at all-time highs with nothing really going on. Your VIX should be at 14, 15, something like that. But a lot of market participants were buying insurance because of that uncertainty into the election. So
Yeah.
then what happens, the election ends. We have a very clear winner who is Donald Trump. And all of a sudden, all of those hedges, all of the big market puts that got put on, they become worthless. And that actually creates a forced bid from market makers and dealers into the market that just propels everything even higher.
Like
So
almost like
you,
a gamma squeeze, right? It's a gamma squeeze on the entire market because everybody was hedging for this potential uncertainty event, which was that we didn't get a clear resolution to the election. Here we got a very big Trump win, so the election was resolved immediately, and that gamma squeeze just propels the market higher.
Yeah, exactly. If we want to be a little bit wonky and dive into our options deltas, I think technically this would be a Vanna squeeze.
Yes.
Vanna is the volatility effect on options. So you saw that VIX drop all the way down. You saw the volatility drop all the way down, and then that creates a buying impulse in the market that rips us higher as we have certainty through that event.
Got it. That's great. A very good explanation, and it does give some clarity to what I was thinking about, but now I kind of have it in a little bit more concrete terms. Now we saw that the Fed cut interest rates by a quarter basis point today. I think that was pretty much largely expected. As a trader, what would you expect the Fed to do now that the election is out of the way? I mean, what are your thoughts on the Fed and interest rates going forward?
Sure. So the Fed today was a little bit of a non-event. I think that the 25 basis point cut was priced in at a 98% probability coming into today. So Powell delivered exactly what was expected. And then Powell is just so great at giving you all the word salad afterwards in the press conference that doesn't really tell you a whole lot. We're trying to push through all the words to figure out how many more cuts are we going to get? We're going to get that cut in December. How many cuts are we going to get in 2025?
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, it to some degree will always be data dependent. We are absolutely now on a cutting path, and as long as inflation doesn't accelerate back up,
Yep.
or the job situation get too big, we'll continue to cut as they're projecting. So we'll probably see another 25 basis points in December is what I would guess at this point.
Okay, that's fair enough. So, what do you? I mean, obviously, we saw Donald Trump media, Truth, social, surge to the upside. We saw Tesla benefiting from the election as Elon Musk came out strongly on the side of Trump and the Republicans. What other sectors could you see benefiting from this Republican sweep?
Sure. So Tesla just a massive winner. I would note that they did sell that DJT back down after a really big initial pop. It's down 27% right now as
Hmm.
as we're having this conversation. As great as it probably is for DJT that Trump won, they still need to build a business there. There's not a
Yeah,
whole lot of revenue that comes into that business yet at this point. So
yeah,
to be seen how well they're able to deliver on that. Other areas where the market where the Trump victory will benefit. One area that's particularly interesting is the energy area, and all the XLE names, because you actually have a little bit of a mixed bag. So generally, anywhere that is going to be um, deregulation helps will benefit those stocks. And
yeah,
there will be deregulation in energy, there will be deregulation in materials. So that will benefit those companies. At the same time, though, what is one of Trump's most famous quotes? Drill, baby, drill.
yeah,
Well, drill, baby, drill, that means a lot more oil supply, which
yeah,
actually negatively impacts those energy companies.
yeah.
So, initially we saw an interesting move of energy stocks going higher while the price of oil kind of sank down a little bit. They did end up buying oil back up a bit, but that's going to be a really interesting area because anywhere where deregulation helps, then you're going to get a boost. Energy is that way. Materials are going to be that way. Anything that's made in the USA is going to benefit. Anywhere where you're running a retail business and you're getting all your goods cheap from China, those areas are going to hurt. So
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah,
the
he's come out strong on tariffs. Absolutely. And we're going to see that probably right in the first 100 days. We do kind of have a 3 month, it's a little bit, it's actually a month and a half reprieve until the actual transition of power, which is in January. So, obviously we're going to be going through the whole process of picking the cabinet and key offices, and then we'll see how that pans out. And we'll just have to continue to monitor it. Now, just going into individual asset classes, gold initially pulled back, but kind of bounced up a little bit today. I have a chart here on the weekly of the QQQ and on the QQQ daily, which has been the leading, the tech index, the tech heavy NASDAQ 100. It has been leading the market rally. You can see here on this. Let me just see if I can get my laser pointer going. But we can see here that pretty much from the election, big gap up, follow through to the upside, taking out of the prior high on the QQQ, which technically is a big deal. But what do you see for the dollar, the US dollar? You mentioned the price of oil will probably be going down as you drill, you create more supply. So, what are your thoughts on the dollar and on gold going forward?
the the big thing I think to pay attention to is both the dollar and interest rates. To some degree, gold also. Um, the one thing, the only thing I can really think of that could derail this rally that we're seeing. I mean, we could get a little technical pullback. We're a little bit extended at this point. We had two really big days in a row. After a day three or a day four, just having a little bit of a technical pullback, I think makes plenty of sense. But
Mhm.
big picture, the only thing I can really see derailing this rally right now would be if the dollar really continues to accelerate higher and or interest rates continue to accelerate higher. And that interest rate play, and this also circles back to gold a little bit, is dependent on how the market wants to view Trump as an inflationary president or not.
Right.
So we have seen some degree with his policies of the market pricing in, well, maybe some of his effects, the tariff effects, things like that, could actually be inflationary in nature. And therefore, if the government comes in and implements inflationary policies, then the Fed won't be able to cut as much as expected because they have to try to keep a lid on inflation. So that's why we saw that we got a little bit of a reprieve in it today. Initially, yesterday, interest rates were up really big, and the dollar was up really big as well, also. And again, today we got a little bit of a rest, we got a little bit of a pullback on the dollar, we got a little bit of a pullback on interest rates also, which that helps the bull case. So
Yep.
the one thing I would really, really make sure to pay attention to is that interest rates. If you see the 10-year really start to accelerate past 4.6%, then rates are getting so high that it could have a negative impact on stocks and their multiples, especially small caps and mid caps. But
Hmm.
as long as you don't see that, as long as some degree of the strength in the dollar can be held in and interest rates can be held in, then again, we might get a little technical pullback in the market just off extension, but there's no reason for things to not continue.
Hmm.
And gold is a little bit of a safety play. It's also people buy it to try to protect themselves from inflation a little bit also. So as you're watching gold move, it's also a little bit of a proxy for that inflation challenge. At
Yep.
this point, the big pullback in gold yesterday, I think broke the chart a little bit.
Hmm.
So the way that I trade, I'm a price action trader. I utilize technical analysis. I study charts. So when I have a chart that broke a little bit, it just means I need to be patient, wait for it to reset up. So I don't have a strong opinion on gold with where it is after the bigger pullback yesterday.
Yeah, and I know you're not much, I mean, you're mainly an equity and options trader, but on crypto, we saw a big reaction in the market to Bitcoin and crypto. Bitcoin broke out to 75,000, kind of an all-time high. Your thoughts on crypto? I guess that's because of the Elon Musk Trump connection.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been somewhat of a crypto cynic, just in terms of trying to figure out what the actual use case is for it. I've always felt that it needed somebody to come in and legitimize it.
Yeah,
And well, I can't think of legitimizing Bitcoin any more than if Trump comes in and makes a Bitcoin Federal Reserve or a Bitcoin, some sort of federal trust for holding Bitcoin. Not I can't think of anything that could be more bullish for
yeah,
crypto and for Bitcoin
yeah,
or more legitimizing than him choosing to do that.
yeah.
So, he's come in and he's acted as has Elon Musk for years now. Um, they've been big crypto bulls. So you've got Bitcoin breaking out. The chart looks beautiful,
Yeah.
totally breaking out to highs. There was a
The
big
big bull
resistance
flag.
area there for a while. It finally
Yeah.
broke out through the bull flag. So the chart looks fantastic. I would not want to be on the short side of Bitcoin unless if that's how that bull flag fails and it comes back below where it broke out from, then maybe you could be looking for a short on failed breakout or something. But right now it looks like all steam ahead. As a matter of fact, it's hard to find charts right now that don't look good between the market and the energy and financials and crypto. The only thing that you could say is maybe some of these charts are a little bit too extended, got a little bit ahead of themselves and need to rest. But
Yeah.
almost everything outside of maybe housing and consumer staples and utilities, which are defensive plays, so they pulled back a little bit anyway. Um, every seems that was right now. It's a matter of measuring extension.
Yeah, I mean everything, but isn't that a little bit of a concern when everything is everything looks, I mean, usually gold, the dollar, and they don't move in tandem. They move inverse to each other, and they're all sort of up at all-time highs or near all-time highs. So that is a little bit of a divergence from the normal inverse relationship. Cryptocurrency, kind of a hedge to the dollar as well as digital gold. But it also has its own dynamic, sort of being in the tech space. So it's just a
Right.
little alarming to have all these asset classes in play at the same time, which could be a little bit of a concern. But at the same time, when all the signs say bull, bullish, green, probably the only thing that you could be worried about is a little bit of a pullback or correction.
And that is exactly why I'm throwing out that little warning on the dollar and on interest rates.
Yep.
Again, if you see interest rates really accelerate, right now that move has not negatively impacted the market at all, obviously.
Mhm.
But if it really accelerates much further, it may. But if you can get stabilization in the dollar, if you can get the dollar just to move sideways and interest rates to move sideways, let alone pull back. Like today, we had the dollar pull back a little bit, so that acted as an additional tailwind for equities to give this day too. So outside of I do think that we are due. maybe tomorrow, maybe early next week, just for like a little bit of a technical pullback, just because the move has come so far so fast.
You're
I'm
gonna
gonna
get
cover with the
profit taking
rules.
before the weekend is my thought. I mean, potentially. I mean, if there's a time to take it, it's right before the weekend, and that's, we're going into Friday. It's the weekend, and we've had a tremendous week.
Absolutely. And my rules dictate not to be continuing to buy these prices after this 2-day move. I
Yeah.
don't think that you have a good risk reward if you're chasing upside price here now.
Hmm.
Wait for the market to reset up after this really big move we had. Wait for a technical pullback, pivot low so that you can come in and potentially, build your longs back into. I think if anything, if you caught this move over the course of the last couple of days, it probably makes sense to do some profit taking, put some money in your pocket, let things reset up, and then you can work back into those positions on a pullback and try to keep the difference.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So I'm jumping to the market analysis section. Is there any specific stocks that you'd like to take a look at? Anything that you've that illustrates any of the topics that we've already touched upon. Let me just see if I can share here. There we go. So I'm bringing up my Dash Trader. So here we have our Dash Trader software, and I'm just going to go through some of the big names. And so, anything that you want me to take a look at first, Derrick?
So with the move the last 2 days, I'm very macro focused, S&P, NASDAQ, and like Mag 7 stocks.
Sure.
Happy to take a look at
Let's
any
take
of
a
those
look.
names. The financials are a little bit interesting as well. So any of that stuff, I'm happy to take a look at with you.
All right, so I'm sharing with us right now. This is the QQQ, which is broken out to new highs. This was the prior high right here, kind of indicated by the dotted line. So that's the Nasdaq. So let's just take a look at the S&P. I mean, S&P had already broken out above its prior high, but it broke out of its most recent high. We also have the DIA, which represents the Dow Jones, and you could see that big, huge gap up in the Dow. It's kind of like a little island above the prior high. But let's jump and take a look at NVIDIA. This is now the largest market cap stock in the market. What are your thoughts on NVIDIA?
Sure. So with all these stocks right now, so and spies and the cues that we just looked at, they all look extremely bullish to me, but a little bit overcooked.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for in the short run, as we go into tomorrow, what my team and I call like an RDR trade, which is
Hmm.
basically on a day three. Tomorrow would be a day three for the spies, the cues for NVIDIA, arguably even a day four for NVIDIA. This is just a technical extension trade. Basically, I want to see a push through today's high tomorrow, and then the possibility of a short-term short back down through it.
Got it.
So again, all these charts look great. I am not a bear on any of this stuff. It's a tactical trade off of the upside extension. So, and we can look at any of them, but from an index level, if you look at the Qs, so one of the ways that I like to measure extension in the
Yeah.
QQQ chart is just how far away it's moved from an 8 EMA, an 8 exponential moving average, which is
Hmm.
like a good short-term gauge of how quickly a stock has moved. So for me, I consider the Qs or the spies to start to get rather extremely extended when the price is trading more than $10 above the ADMA. And if you get your ADMA on there using Dash Trader, we will see that right now, as of today's close, and I'm looking at it on my charts at the same time here as we're chatting, I'm looking at, as of today's close, the Qs that are trading at around 513 half with the ADMA down at 498 half. So
Hmm.
we've got about $15 of upside extension from that ADMA compared to where the QQQ actually is. For
Yep.
me, that's a very extreme number. Another thing that
Hmm.
we do a little bit, and I already did it, is day counting. So you get a day one, okay, great. You get a day two, a follow through, okay, great. By the time you get to like day three, day four, or once in a while even day five,
Yep.
you're starting to get to that day count where things are just really getting overcooked and
People are
extreme.
going to start taking profit. There's, getting skittish on their longs, and then just going to want to take some money off the table.
Right. So first of all, momentum is a heck of a thing. So be careful just blindly shorting NVIDIA as an example. We're just looking at NVIDIA. You want to get your face ripped off, go short a
Yeah.
thousand shares and then turn your computer off and go for a walk. It's a fantastic way to lose a lot of money in a short period of time. We
Yeah.
need to be tactical with this. If you're going to short any of this stuff that's extended, you want to make sure that you're shorting it on the way down. That's the idea behind the trade that I was just talking about. You
Yep.
sort of back through today's high tomorrow, you're shorting it on the way down. You have a reference point on the upside that you can utilize as your stop loss. If the
Yep.
market continues because the momentum is so strong, you get stopped out, you move on. If the trade works, you book profit on the way down. You can set that 8 EMA as a potential target for your trade. And then when you're going to pull back and you are retesting that 8 EMA or you're retesting the area that we broke out from, what's that common saying in technical analysis? Previous resistance becomes future support. So if
Yep.
we can get a pullback off of this upside extension back to those moving averages to satisfy that extension or a retest of the breakout levels, that's when you want to say, okay, it's time for me to start building back into these longs, unless interest rates are going through the roof. That would
Yeah.
be the one warning signal, which I think is lower probability, where I might take a step back on buying the dip on that pullback when it eventually happens.
Yep. Great point. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up here. Great insights, Derrick. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm just going to quickly go back to the slide presentation here, and then we'll wrap things up. And I'd love to have you on again in the future. Great analysis and great comments as well, and trading techniques. Let me see if I can get this
Yeah, my
presentation.
pleasure, Mike. Appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, it was great. Great insights. So stay up to date with all things DAS by signing up to our monthly newsletter. Simply fill out the form at the bottom of our webpage, www.dastrader.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for our newsroom reminders and follow us on social media. And stay tuned because we'll have Derrick and his insights back again on a future episode of the DAS Trader Newsroom. Thanks a lot, Derrick. Great seeing you and trade well.
My pleasure. Thanks, Mike.